So, thank you all for coming. This is great. This is a good audience. Yes, my name is Lars, and yes, let's get out of the way. I do have llamas. That was not a joke. That is from my camera. That's Llama Cam 1. No, 2, sorry. That's Llama Cam 2. There's 4. I know. That was my lockdown project. I did llamaCam.com.au. Not running currently. I know people go, oh, llamas. I know. I put a picture of a llama up online, and everyone went, ooh, llamas. So I made it a whole thing. But yes, we do have llamas. That's from July, that video. But yeah, so now that out of the way. All right, I also brought some stickers. They're up here. If you like stickers, come and get them afterwards. You can't have the shoes. They're mine, just saying. I had 2 people go, oh, I like the shoes. No, you can't have them. So that's the giveaways. Oh, see, that's another little freebie at the end as well. So first, I'm going to start with a disclaimer, because this talk is one of those where I talk about a whole bunch of stuff that that happened to me and that I've been through and everything, right? So this is just me. I don't have all the answers. I am going to talk a lot to you, though. This is going to be very much a two-way conversation, because otherwise it'll be like a 10-minute talk, right? So yeah, exactly. This is my subjective opinion, right? This is just me blurting out what I think and what I've done and what I think works. It doesn't mean that it necessarily is something that you will agree with. So as with any advice, take what you can use and leave the rest, right? I don't expect you to agree with everything I'm saying. I hope not, because that's where it becomes interesting. And your journey will be different from mine. But we're all different, we're all unique. And then someone always yells, I'm not. But anyway, please ask lots of questions. This talk is all about asking questions, right? I have a microphone. No, I don't have a microphone. It's down there. But otherwise, just yell it out, and I'll repeat it as well so that it's recorded, et cetera, et cetera. But do ask questions. And there's a lot of people. Yes, see, already, we've broken the ice. Go.
Why llamas instead of alpacas?
Good question. It's a neighbor's animals, not mine. I'm a software developer. I have no idea what to do with farming. And he said, would you like llamas? I went, yeah. That was it. Yeah, there's not. And alpacas are too cute. Spend too much time on them. If you do ask about Lego or cars, it will be a very long talk. Okay, just a bit of a disclaimer. Okay, good, out of the way. So I'm going to start with where I'm at. And it's not, I don't want to say, hey, look at me, woo. Well, kind of, but it's to kind of provide context, right? So this is my current place in life, I guess. And I like this picture because I try and make every day be a good day. And we can't have all good days, but we can damn well try, right? So first of all, I get to live here. That is not Photoshop. That is not a filter on anything. That is an actual picture I took at the top of the hill in my backyard, essentially. That's where the alpacas live as well. See, you do it. Your fault. They're llamas. They're not alpacas. Geez, they carry a knife. You've got to be careful. Which is in the Victorian High Country, right? And the reason I'm showing this will become more apparent a little bit later on. But I do live on a farm. It's not for everybody. It's my choice. And yes, we don't have mobile connection. We don't have any ADSL. We don't have any fiber. We don't have anything. I just have Starlink, right? Which is pretty cool, I gotta say. My kids get to, that's not our property, but it's pretty damn close. Go down to the creek whenever they want and play with the dogs outside and do all those sort of things, which I think is super important because I didn't have that when I grew up, right? I grew up in suburbia, Copenhagen in Denmark. Very much suburbia, like inner Copenhagen type thing. I get to work with a fantastic team. So that's my current team at Pluralsight. It's a job I now have. I'm a developer advocate, which sort of means everything and nothing, really. Especially with Pluralsight because we don't have a developer product, we don't have an API, so it's a very interesting sort of title to get. But all these people are amazing, absolutely fantastic, and I couldn't be happier. And it's taken a long time to get to that point, right? I finally have the job now I wanted about 6 years ago. I'm writing a book, which I'll give away at the end to the best questions that don't have anything to do with alpacas. And that's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I am not a very good book writer, but I'm doing it. I've finally got the car I wanted. And I'll talk a lot more about that, not because it has to be a talk about cars, but it has to be a talk about what you desire or what you want to achieve, right? And that was one of my big goals. And yes, there are llamas. And yes, I have a room full of Lego. That's from YouTube. Anyway, if we talk about Lego, there'll be nothing else. So I'll quickly move on. So I'm going to ask a few questions. First of all, are you genuinely happy? Right? Most people go, yeah, I'm happy. And it's a very broad question, and that's on purpose, right? Because happiness means very many different things to very many different people. But if you ask yourself, are you genuinely happy? Like, you don't have to give me an answer now if you want to, sure. You can tell me why or why not. But it's a really important question because we only get to be here once, right? And if we're miserable the whole way through, it kind of sucks, right? And we're in charge. Like, believe it or not, you're in charge of your own happiness, more or less. Now, there are things that come up, it gets in the way and everything. I'm not that naive. But are you genuinely happy? And have you set goals? I talk about this a lot, and it's because it's changed my life completely. I started doing goal setting about 10, 12 years ago, and it's why I live where I live, and it's why the car is there, and it's why I have other goals I've achieved. And then there's so hands up. Does anyone here use goals? Okay, so that's like 4 people, okay? Right, that's not very good, I'm sorry. And I don't want to force it down your throat, but I kind of do, because I think it's one of those things that we just don't say, oh yeah, I'll get to that, right? Because it's hard. Like, and does any of the 3 people that put their hand up, do you want to share a goal, like anything? Yes?
Yeah, so I migrated from country to country, so I know I'm not going to get some of the targets for a specific country.
Okay.
One of my objective goals is to make sure I've got enough investments all over so I can retire and don't depend on anybody else.
Okay, so there was 2 things there. So you're saying you've moved from country to country, and then there's the investments.
Yeah.
Are they the same goal?
Moving from country to country was because I was feeling stuck. So I said, get moving and figure it out.
Okay.
And constraint coming out of that
Yep.
was, okay, I'm not going to get a requirement from a specific place.
Right, okay. So when you say it's a goal, is this something that you've written down and you said, okay, by the 1st of December 2024, this is what's going to happen? Is it that specific?
The timeline is a requirement.
Yep.
So by the time I'm at 60, 65,
Yep.
I need to have enough money that comes
Okay. Cool. No, thank you. Thank you very much. And the reason I'm asking that is that we often get confused between dreams and goals. I'll get to dreams in just a second. They're not the same thing. They're not at all, right? And it's pretty specific. Like, it does sound like you have the majority of the structure of a goal. Because once you set goals, it's often because the grass is greener somewhere else, right? Now, I moved from Denmark to Australia because, like you, I was stuck. I had a full-time job, I had an apartment, I had a car, I had no degree, and I couldn't get any higher up. I couldn't get to the point where I wanted to go, okay, I can now sort of explore software development in my case, or is it software engineering? What did we decide on this morning? It is really important that you have this in mind. They're just general questions, but if you keep those in mind for the next, what have we got, 40 minutes, this will make a lot more sense, right? And again, please do ask questions. We've had one already, which doesn't really count, but okay. I'm going to keep picking on you. So, have you got dreams? Does anyone share a dream? Okay, something that you would love to achieve or something you would love to happen. Yes, I was going to wait.
Yeah, well, next year I want to visit Finland
Next,
with my wife.
yeah?
And 2 young children to visit Christmas village.
Oh, right, so next year, gentlemen,
Almost a goal.
yeah, okay, wants to visit Finland next year, to visit the Christmas village, etc., right? Okay, cool. And you're saying it sounds almost like a goal, like almost like. Because when I'm thinking of dreams, it's more like people, oh, I'd love to have a big house. Or, oh man, I'm going to get a Lamborghini one day. Or something like that. My head is always cars, I'm sorry. Yes, down in the corner, sir. You want to retire? See, that's a dream, right? And it's interesting because the next thing on here was like, no bigger ones. That's pretty damn big, right? Unfortunately, I did this slide in Belgium, of all places. And I said, have anyone got dreams? And there was a guy that put his hand up, very bravely to be honest, and said, I'd love to find a wife. And then I put up no bigger ones. I'm like, oh, God. Right? So that was, it worked this time, thank you. No, because we need to have really, really big dreams because that's where we get the goals from, right? Dreams are super important, but they're not going to be, well, they're not going to come to life. That's why they're dreams, right? We have to move on from that. So, okay, this is one of my favorite bits now. Who wants more time to do things? Okay, there's some people that don't. Interesting. So people that have enough time, what do you do with all the spare time? Sorry? Surf. Okay, but then you're still using it. But it's not compulsory, that's true. But I do get this a lot. So I've done a lot of mentoring over the years, and people always go, oh, but I don't have time. Right now, I have a friend who messaged me on Twitter going, I really need to do more content. I really want to get into my blog, and I want to do more video content. I'm like, okay, so why don't you? Why don't you? Ah, yeah, but I don't have time. It's kids. Okay, so make time. And it's like, it's this perpetual thing, we all have the same amount of time. So what do we do with that time? Because we do want more, a lot of us at least. There was about, I don't know, 60% of people put their hand up. How do we get more time, right? And there's many ways that we can try and figure this out. But yes.
I have one.
You have one? One what?
Cancel Netflix subscription.
Say again?
Cancel all the streaming subscriptions.
I like this guy. Because, did you get my slides? Because, hang on. He's right though, right? Because I was going to ask, okay, who's got a Netflix subscription? Or a Prime, or Disney Plus, or God knows what, Foxtel? Are you lying now? It would be like 90% of people, right? And I'm not unique. I have Prime subscription because I bought a thing and I love Grand Tour, which is about cars. Right, but that's the main reason. Okay, so does anyone volunteer? What was the last thing you watched on Netflix, Disney, whatever? Yes? What? So a movie. Cool, okay. Thor, Love, and Thunder. Excellent, all right. That's a good example because I watch a lot of movies. Now, does anyone watch a TV show on Netflix or whatever? You're lying again. I know, it's way more than that. It's way more. And that's one of the things I always bring up if you need more time, because the TV show never ends. It doesn't, right? So give me an example of a TV show on Netflix. Stranger? Is that what you no? Strange Things. Again, I don't know anything about these. How many seasons are there of Strange Things? Stranger Things. Oh, that's a Lego set. Anyway, how many how many seasons are there of Stranger Things? 5? And how many episodes in each? 10? And how long is each episode? See, you know where I'm going with this, right? Yeah. And what do you have that you didn't have before once you've watched these 50 hours of TV? Did you say life or light? You have a smile on your face. Fair enough. Can you do that in an hour instead of 50? Probably, right? And my point is that we spend an awful lot of time on things that either could be completely removed or condensed. Right? I'm a big fan of movies. That's why I like your answer, because I watch a fair amount of movies, but they're finite, right? 2 hours, done. Movie's over. You're not going to go back and watch the same movie again, right? Unlikely. Sorry? The sequels, yeah, but that's only if you're into superhero stuff. No, there are sequels, but they don't come out the next week, right? It's not like we have a TV show that just keeps going and going and going. That's the whole idea of TV shows. That's why Netflix has the skip the introduction and go straight to the next thing, or whatever it's called. They have a word for it. Skip intro? It's a good word. Good. And by the way, Netflix now has ads as well on some tier. Is that right? Yeah. Woo. Let's pay for ads. Yeah, so my point, does this make sense, right? So who here is going to not watch Netflix or TV shows? There's like one person. He's like, screw you, buddy. I know what I'm doing. Why are you here? So it's a really good point, though. And I like this point because I made it, is that this is a lot of wasted time. And I always bring this up because it's easy picking. There's many other things that we do. So the common question, does anyone want to have a guess of what the common question is for this? Or the common argument? No? Exactly. But I have to relax. How do I? This is my. Right? And there's a bit sort of people get annoyed when I keep banging on about this. And it's like, yeah, but why can't you build a Lego set? That's what I do. You know, depending on how big it is, but you know, don't buy that Eiffel Tower thing, by the way, because it's like Netflix. No, there's a very, very significant difference. If you want to keep doing Lego like Netflix, you go broke. Right? Lego is extraordinarily expensive. So it becomes much more of a, I can do this with my son, or I can do it on my own when he's in bed because I don't want to share it, or whatever it is, right? But I do other things, or maybe you take the dogs for a walk, like if you like going outside, or there's many things you can do instead of sitting down in front of the TV, or whatever else is that you spend a lot of time on. Does anyone here has a vice they want to share that they spend too much time on? Computer? What in particular? Because I'm on the computer all the time. Programming? Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So how am I not doing many, many hours of farm maintenance, essentially, is what you're asking, right? Instead of, say, Netflix or farm maintenance. There's... Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a good question. How do you manage that if you are on acreage, or if you do have a lot of chores or a lot of responsibilities, how do you manage it? There's part of it is you throw money at the problem. Yes. Yeah. So I'm not saying this is easy, right? But there are ways that you can, like, I don't do my own accounting. That's why I have an accountant, because I don't want to spend time on it. So yes, I pay someone, $400 a year, or whatever it is, but I'm not going to get that time back for that money anywhere. So there are little things that you can do, and I say throw money at things, like we all have a limited budget, I assume. Unless, is Elon here? Nope. But it is really valuable if you start prioritizing your time on what you want to do. There are things you go, I'm just going to pay someone to mow the lawn, or pay someone to clean the windows, because that might be $100, but it gives you 3 hours. So is your time worth $30 an hour? Probably is. Especially if you're working for yourself, if you're freelancing, this equation becomes much easier because you know what your hourly rate is. But if you're in a full-time job, it's a little bit trickier. But there are definitely things that you can pay your way out of, and it's so worth it. Like, I hate cleaning. So who here loves cleaning? Exactly. What? Really? Come to my house. Right? And again, currently, super hard to get a cleaner, especially where we live because we're in the middle of nowhere. But there are ways you can absolutely get more time. Okay, don't want to run out of time. That'll never happen. Right, so it's sort of building on. The whole talk, hopefully, is one long story that makes sense. But what you want to be intentional, right? This is the most critical word, I think, when we sort of try to define what we want to do and who we want to be intentional. Don't just sort of go, like, has anyone ever invited someone, say, to a party, and they go, oh, yeah, I think I can make it. Right, we get answers like that all the time. Oh, do you want to come to the thing? Oh, yeah, probably. Right? And what they've done immediately is giving themselves a way out. Like, I never committed. Right? And if we keep doing that, we'll never do a damn thing. But instead, if you go, no, I'm not going. I mean, you can be nice about it. You don't have to be. But right, you said, no, I have other things I need to do. Or you go, yes, I'm going to be there. Because then what you've done, you've set the intention that either one or the other is going to happen, and you also don't have the, I got invited to the thing, and we got to go get a present, and there's chocolate. But if you just said yes, well, then you have to do it. Or no, you're done. Right? The intention is so important. I'll just make sure I don't forget anything. Like you gotta take ownership of these things, because we all do it. I'm certainly not. I'm not perfect, right? I do it as well, especially with kids' birthdays. It's very nice and all, but and you gotta go there, and it's gotta, we have to drive an hour to all the other kids' birthdays, and then we gotta either drive an hour back or wait, do something, and then. But I try and give people a clear answer, right? And it's as much for me as it is for them. It's a bit like if you go out, say, and I'm using in this case a scene of with alcohol. I know not everybody drinks, right? But if you go to a pub, and the first thing you do is say, hey, I'm going to buy a round, right? Intentionally. I'm going to do first. Well, you've already said, yeah, I've done it, right? And it's out the way, and you've sweet. And then the fact that, if say there's 6 people, it's likely they won't come back to you again. But it's intentionally. So you don't have to sit there and worry about it, and the other people aren't going, oh, who's going to do the next one? Or who's going to, right? You just set the precedence. Those things are really important, and you can do it in pretty much everything. So let's go back to goals. No, those goals, exactly. I want to talk about 2 goals that I set, and feel free to chime in, right? Because this is where we can sort of have a conversation about these things. So I'm going to bring up the car again, right? I love this thing, and I realize it's not for everybody. Some people just see a big, massive block of metal. But to me, it's much more than that. So this was intentionally a goal we set. We wanted to have a family car that we could tour, like a grand tourer or road trip car. But I hate like soccer mom cars, as I call them, like Kia Carnivals, and no offense if you have one, that's cool if you like it. To me, it's like, oh, I can't have it, right? And it had to be fast, preferably very loud. I know. Who would have thought? But this was 18 months in the making. Right? Because when we first sort of decided, no, we're going to get another car, not that we don't have enough, but besides the point, we sat down and said, well, what do we want out of this car? Intentionally, what do we want this car to do? Okay, well, it has to have 7 seats. It has to be damn fast, because both me and my other half love cars. Well, we met at car sales. Hey. And it has to be really comfortable. And it has to be, big, like that. So initially we sort of went, we looked at one car, and then we didn't like that, so we looked at another car. So we researched the whole market. Coincidentally, Fiona is a vehicle research analyst when she was working, so that made it easier in this case. But that was not a fluke. It's not something we just went, new car, yeah, we'll have that, right? This was extraordinarily expensive for our budget, but we found a way. It took 18 months figuring out how to pay for it. How to maintain it, figure out what the running costs are right after you get it. The tires on that last 20,000 kilometers, and they're $500 a piece. So it's not just acquiring, it's like, how do I pay for the damn thing, right? And some people go, you are mad, and that's cool. You're absolutely entitled to have that opinion. And maybe I am, but I like it, right? Other people go and buy jewelry or clothes or a yacht or whatever it is. Right? This is my thing. My point is that this is a result of being intentional. It's a goal. We wrote it down. We had a rough timeline. With goals, you must have a timeline, otherwise it's never going to happen. You're always going to push it out, right? And it happened that actually came up last year in July, because we wanted that color and we wanted that interior. So very intentional. Does that make sense? Does anyone want to share? Does anyone think I'm mad? Come on, there's got to be one. Yeah, okay. You just said yes. Anyone can relate to this or not? Yeah? Yep. And that's the whole idea, is a priority. We all have a million priorities, right? All our inboxes are full, whether that's email or mentally. We've got to prioritize things and what we think are important. There's this old saying of, if you want something done, you ask a busy person, right? Because they're the ones to figure out how to prioritize things. That's why they get things done. So yeah, that was one of ours. The next thing I had is very different. So this is my YouTube channel. Plug! I started doing YouTube at the start of 2021, because I wanted to play with the format. So in my job, I do a lot of video. I do video courses and weekly shows and other tech videos, etc. But I was always sort of restricted in what I was allowed to do. So I thought, well, if I do my own videos, I can do whatever the hell damn I want. But I wasn't going to just do a video. So I was very intentional, again, intention about saying, okay, I'm going to do a video every 2 weeks, no matter what. So if I'm traveling for 3 weeks, well, I got to have 2 videos ready so they can be scheduled, right? Every 2 weeks, I have to put out a video. And I missed it once in 2 years, but it took 3 weeks. And then I set goals around numbers, because with YouTube, that's an easy thing. So 1,000 subscribers after a year, which I did 3 months early. I said, oh, I'm going to do 5,000 by the end of 2022. No hope, right? And we'll get to that. I reviewed it, and I went, okay, we're going to do 3,000 instead. So I'm almost there. I've got a month to go. I've got like 200 subscribers more. But it's so intentional, and I love it. I love doing these videos. And I then combine it with something, because this is, again, a matter of time. If you're talking about time, these takes a fair amount of time, or they can do. But if I combine them with something I'm doing anyway, well, I get to do 2 things. It takes longer to do the thing, because I've got to record it, edit, whatever, but I get to do the thing. So in my case, it's home automation and it's networking equipment. So whatever your thing is, you could do the same thing. And then I do stupid shit like connecting my dishwasher to the internet. Because I could, right? Yeah, I know. So that's another part of, like, there's got to be intentional goals to do these things, right? Does that make sense? Because it's a little bit like you're falling asleep, and that was not the intention. Okay, does anyone have a goal that is that specific that they want to share? Because I want to hear it from you as well, because then you can teach everybody else. No, okay. So none of you have any goals. Yes?
Building a combi camper.
A combi camper. Cool. Okay, so what's your timeline?
Somewhere between 6 months and 2 years.
Okay. And have you got the camper? Yes. You have. Okay, good start. He's actually got the vehicle to do it with. And is this a renovation project, restoration project? Cool. So you're not creating your own version, you're sort of restoring it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what's the next step? Where are you at? More rust? So you're adding it or taking it off? Cool. Okay, and have you got, when is it going to be painted?
I don't know, but I actually have asked my work friends about, should I project manage my hobby? And we had that discussion on that.
Short answer, yes. Yeah, absolutely. You should project manage your hobbies. Maybe not to the extent of having Asana everywhere, that's not what I'm saying, but you should absolutely have an idea. The reason I'm asking specific questions is that because if it's a goal, if it is something you want to achieve, you've got to have specific targets, right? So you say, well, excuse me, if it has to be, remove the rust and plate works and whatever, well, paint it by 1st of March. If you put that down, you go, oh, shit, what do I have to do before the 1st of March? And then it becomes very real, right? You start actually prioritizing these things. Because otherwise it's just a dream. You go, I'll probably do it. Yes? How do you avoid your hobbies feeling like work? Well, good question. I must admit I'm very fortunate, and I think mine just blend together, because what I do for work is, I love it, and I'll do it for a hobby as well. I realize that's not everybody. Hopefully you don't have a job so you can do your hobby. That would be sad, right? You get what I mean? But yeah, you got to draw the line somewhere. In our household, it's like we're not allowed to work on anything on Sundays. That's a family day. Not that I keep to it all the time, but that's what we try and do. So if you have clear boundaries, especially if you're not living on your own, there might be someone that you can help, or they can help you be accountable to those things. But it's a good question. How do you actually, yeah. Okay, so how much time have I got? I forgot what time we end. 15. Oh, geez. Okay, talking faster. Yep, next. No, sorry. So what are your goals? I just asked that, so that was easy. They're so important. Like, I don't want this to be a goal talk, but it kind of is, because it excels everything we do. And I've found that in the last 10 years where I've had goals, I've achieved so much more than the 10 years previous to that where I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Right? And there's nothing wrong with having that. We all have different pasts and baggages, but what you can do right now. So I wanted to bring up this movie. Has anyone not seen The Martian or not aware of it existing? You don't know The Martian? Okay, so Matt Damon is an astronaut. He gets stranded on Mars because his crew thinks he's dead, and he has to then stay alive on Mars to get back to Earth. Is that fair? That's the synopsis? Yeah, people are nodding. The reason I'm bringing this up is because what is the one thing he keeps doing in this movie, apart from not dying? Potatoes? Yes, there's a lot of potatoes. And there's a little bit of a leading question here, but he keeps solving problems, right? He says, let's science the shit out of this. And he does. But to me, it stood out. Well, I love the visuals and, it's a good story, but he just solves one problem after the other. Now, of course, he has to, because otherwise he dies. That's sort of an extreme. But he keeps solving problems. And then the point of that is that I want to get back to the farm, because when we bought this farm in 2014, at the point where people thought we were mad for buying a farm, and then 2 years ago, we were instant geniuses, but anyway, we didn't have finance for it. Right? We actually didn't have finance when we signed the unconditional contract. We had an idea of how to get finance for that particular place, but we didn't have it. And yeah, that was a risk, because what happens in Australia, if you say you're going to buy something in a property and you don't, you pay a lot of penalties, right? And people can sue you and all sorts of nasty stuff. But we did. And we're like, no, we want this place. We are going to live here. So we found a way, and we said, no, if we do this now, we are intentionally saying we're going to live here, right? And it wasn't like we didn't have any options. It's just that at that point, we hadn't had anything finalized. And I'm still there, so obviously it worked out. But we just solved one problem after another until we had finance. That was basically what happens. And that's sort of, I don't want to put myself in the shoes of an astronaut, but it's the same behavior, right? Because you can give up. You can. It's the easiest thing in the world. It's really, really, really simple. You just stop, right? Done. Yep. But if you don't want to quit, if you don't want to give up, you just keep solving another problem. And my God, it gets exhausting at times. Absolutely. But it also means that now we live there, and I love it. And I realize this is not for everybody. And I have a drone. Sorry. That's so good. Love that toy. But it's just, if you have this intention and if you prioritize something super, super, super high, you are going to get it, right? You're going to make it work somehow. Like that's, humanity went to the moon, etc. There's all the cliche sort of stories around it, but it's very true. So I want to put that in your head. You can absolutely do what it is you want to do. It just, maybe it means you have to give up something else. And we'll get to that. Because there will be mistakes made. Oh boy. This was part of the talk. I said, give you some examples of what not to do. Some of my screw-ups. Now, I have one mistake I keep using. So when I was freelancing for Pluralsight, I did a bunch of courses. I did 28 courses on various technologies, mainly Windows Phone. No? Okay. Never mind. I did. I had 4 courses on Windows Phone. But I did something called play-by-play, where 2 people are talking about a topic. It's slightly scripted. There's an idea of what you're going to talk about. There's some demos. But in general, it's a conversation. And at the time, I was really, really keen on quantum computing, because it's so weird, right? I loved it. It was just, how does that work? Like quantum entanglement? If you really want your mind to blow up, go Google quantum entanglement. It's like, what the? But I did a play-by-play on quantum computing because the Q# language had just come out. And it went well, and we recorded it, and I had, the other guy I was doing it with, and we were recording it in Sydney. And it went to Pluralsight, and they edited the whole thing together, very nicely, photography and everything. Lots of slides and demos and whatnot. And then it gets reviewed by Microsoft, by one of the people that wrote the language, the Q# language. And the guy goes, what? I think there might have been expletives, I suggest there would have been. What is this guy on about? Because I had completely misunderstood one of the concepts. And he was just so wrong, like very wrong. But to an outsider, just listening to it, it sounded like I knew what the hell I was talking about, a bit like now. Anyway, and luckily it was never published, right? Because it would have been, like someone saved my bacon from Microsoft. They actually reached out to me directly and said, are you sure about this? And it's just one of those, I went, thank you. Like, Just own that mistake. That's what I tell you now. It's not, initially I was really ashamed of it, like, geez, what have I done? But now it's like, it's one of the things that I had on my journey that I screwed up, and there's many other things, like not going to the dentist for 10 years. Yeah, exactly. So there's many things, but we've got to own those mistakes, right? Because otherwise what happens is that they come back and bite us. It's this whole karma thing. But if you're upfront about it, like another example I just thought of actually, my 17-year-old has, he hasn't got kicked out of schools. It's very complicated. But essentially he is no longer the school he was at. Not his fault. And I said, the first thing you do is that you own that and say, yep, I'm not there anymore, and you tell your work. You tell your boss. Don't let him find out from someone else, right? And by doing that, he was like, his boss was like, yeah, of course, I'll support you. Sure, yeah, I get you. Right? You turn that around. And talking about the people, has anyone ever heard of the birds? Does this mean anything to anyone, the birds? Sorry? There's always someone that says Hitchcock. Did you? Was that what you said? And bees. Not quite where I was going. But is that your lightning talk next? No, the birds are the people where you go, you know what? I'm going to do, like, I'm going to restore a whoppie, right? I'm going to do this combi van. And there are people that go, oh, sweet, that's a good idea. And then there are the people that go, I don't think you can do it. You sure? That's really hard. Like, why don't you do something simpler first? Why don't you go and build Lego? Right. Or, you know, if you have this idea and you go, oh, pitches to someone, they go, I don't think that's a good idea, right? The birds, and what they do, they keep pecking at you, right? They keep going, I don't know, yeah, you sure? It's not because they don't want you to do it. They're looking out for you, but they're not helping. Because what happens invariably is that you go, yeah, I probably can't, right? If you have 10 people around you or 5 people or whatever that keeps going, are you sure? Yeah, no, you should probably just go back to your work or whatever. You're just going to not do it, right? And it's so powerful, these people, and they don't even know it. But you just stomp on your dreams, essentially, or your goals. And that's where you sort of go, I've learned to sort of go, no, screw you, I'm doing it anyway, right? But it takes a while to get to that point. And that's the adversity, is that if you have some audacious goal, and you have something that's really odd, like buying a farm with no internet, like my parents, I remember going, really? Okay. And I could just see, they're very good, they won't interfere, but I could see they were really sort of going, you're mad, right? I still did it because I wanted it. It was my thing. But that could easily, if there had been more people around us going, I don't know, why don't you get 3 bedrooms in Caroline Springs or whatever, I might have done that. Does anyone have, has anyone experienced this the birds, what I call the birds? Yeah? Yeah. There's a few people nodding, right? If you keep it, if you realize that's happening as it's happening, it makes it much easier as well. Okay. And then there's the whole reverse psychology, right? And this is really, really hard to get to. Now, this is a funny comic strip, which I think is really, it's a great example of reverse psychology. But the whole idea is that you get to a point where you use that negativity that comes from others. You go, no, I'm going to do it anyway. When I came out of uni as a software developer, I got a job in Melbourne. I actually got, because I'm an Uber nerd. I finished first in my class at uni, blah, blah, blah. And I got headhunted to Melbourne to work for this logistics company building software. And it was great. And then about 6 months in, a year in, the CEO / boss / owner pulls me aside and very condensed version, he says, yeah, you'll never be a great developer. Right, that was the talk because he was trying to look out for me. And I was devastated for about 3 weeks. I'm like, and then I sort of went, and that was my partner at the time, she went, what, you going to let this get to you? I'm like, many expletives. No, I want to use that, and I have since. I always use it as an example of someone really getting you down, and you sort of go, no, I'm not the greatest developer in the world, no, but I am on this stage, and I have the microphone, so, I did all right. So, yeah, that is really important, because everybody will try and get you down. Not everybody, that's not right. What's the right wording? There will always be someone that will try and, they won't try and get you down, but they will try and help you by not helping you, right? And you've got to have that intention of what you want to do and the goals, and that's what steers you. I didn't have that. All right, so I'm going a little bit fast. I wish this was a 2-hour talk. Anyway, one of the things you can do, because I do want to give you a bunch of tips on what you can do, is get a mentor. Does anyone have a mentor? Or 2 or 3? All right, there's like 6 people, right? Okay, someone that doesn't have a mentor, is that because you've never thought about it, or do you not want one? You didn't find one, okay. Because that's the next question I usually get is, well, how do you find a mentor? Well, you ask someone. Someone that you think, not family, not friends, that is super important. You ask someone, and invariably what happens after talks like this, people ask me. I realize the irony in it. But if you have a mentor that's objectively looking out for you, saying, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, actually, I want to get my blog to a point where people see me as the authority on a certain topic. They go, okay, cool. So how are you going to do that? And mentoring is asking questions, right? Very specific questions, but it's not doing the work for you. It's not, pushing you in the right direction necessarily. It's asking questions that makes it clear for you what you want to do. Mentors are very, very good. And yes, you can find a mentor if you really prioritize it. But it is tricky. Sometimes it's not that easy. A lot of companies will have a mentoring program. Pluralsight has one. So I have a mentor, and I am a mentee, sorry. Anyway, both ways. So yeah, that's probably my number one thing is get someone that'll look out for you that doesn't know you. It's really important because they'll just want to help you do what you want to do. Right? It's really, 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 really helpful. And then there's the controversial things, which is friends, right? Who here still have contact with their high school friends? Okay, cool. Who here would like to not have contact with those high school friends? Right? Because what happens invariably is that it's human nature. Like, I'm a people pleaser by design, I was about to say, but as a person, I like helping people. And people say, can you help me? I'll usually go, yeah, I really want to. I've learned to say no a bit more, but friends are the ones that we sometimes think are friends. But if you constantly surround you with people that don't have the same level of, tenacity as you have, or the same level of goals, then they're going to drag you down. It's just, there's no other word for it. And it's a bit cruel, right? I don't have many close friends because of that, and that's a choice, right? I'm even though I'm on stage, I really like my peace and quiet as well. Right? I live on a farm, jeebus. So friends it's a tricky topic, but does anyone, without naming names or anything, does anyone have friends that just sort of go, I'm only friends because we were friends 20 years ago, kind of thing, or 10 years ago? Yeah. Do you want to share anything with, like, without being specific, but why are you still maintaining the relationship?
It's more that I don't want to burn that bridge in case it burns bridges with friends I do actually enjoy hanging out with, or friends that I do actually benefit.
Okay.
It's like, they're friends with them, I want to burn that bridge.
Right, okay. So you're saying, yeah, so it's like a mutual friend. Yeah, yeah. But in that circle of friends, this one person is a bit of a downer or a bit, yeah, right, okay. So what do the other friends do? No, as in that situation. Are they sort of like you going, oh, I guess.
They got complacent to it. Like, they're not that bothered.
Good word, complacent, yeah.
Yeah, they're all very goal-driven as well too.
Yeah.
Kind of just oblivious to it. They don't mind working hard.
Okay, so how often do you hang out with this particular friend?
Maybe once a month, maybe.
Once a month.
It's not that I initiated with them, it's more they get invited along to events.
Sure. Okay, so is it a waste of your time that person is there? Not a huge, okay, all right. So it sounds like it's a little bit of a gray area, right? I have friends that I went to school with that I just don't talk to anymore. For many various reasons, and some of them intentionally, some of them are just sort of, as people come and go in your world. But yeah, be careful with picking friends. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, really quickly, because I talk too much. A few tips on what you can do. So plan everything. Seriously. Right? If you're not a list person, be one. Right? Write down. I would recommend handwriting on a piece of paper because there's something with handwriting to your brain that makes a better connection. Don't just put it in Excel and then save it to Google Drive and forget about it. Absolutely plan everything. Say again? There you go. On the fridge at home is a great place, absolutely. Somewhere visual where you see it all the damn time, right? And then sometimes move it around, because otherwise it becomes part of the furniture. Oh, yeah, yeah. We have 3. Yep. Because there are lists of what to do today. There was this survey done of very successful people, whatever that means, and 15 out of the 16 had lists for the day. Everything they need to do, because otherwise they get distracted and do something else. And then whatever they didn't do that day becomes next day's list, and they at the end of the day, keep adding to that list, right? Because that keeps them on track. They know exactly what they have to do. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I'm very good at procrastinating sometimes, don't get me wrong. But making lists or planning things is fantastically important, like we did with the car, right? Expert planner, yeah. Do it whatever way you want. If you want different colors, cool. Different, whatever works for you. Then review it often. Are you on schedule? Has things changed? Like when we bought that car, we changed the actual car twice because we learned things. There was a V12 diesel. We thought, oh, that's great. And it turned out it's a piece of crap. So we changed but constantly review it, right? And then there's no substitution for hard work, right? There is no silver bullet. There's no shortcuts. There's only doing the thing. Right? And I'm not saying that means you have to work 8 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours a day. That's not my point. If you do, cool, that's your thing. But you cannot avoid doing the thing. There's many famous videos of people going, well, how do you become so good at UI design? Practice. Oh, well, where do you learn it? Practice. Like, that's all there is. It's just doing the thing, doing the practice of the work, whatever. There's no substitution. Anyone want to argue with that, by the way? Because there's always someone going, oh, I don't know. No? That's my, yes? Get.
So, about a couple minutes before you were talking about, successful people, they've been doing call center.
Yep.
But what about the survivor bias associated with that?
The what's it? Survivor bias?
Survivor bias. So basically, what about all the people who don't succeed?
Oh, right.
All the people who do work hard, maybe their business is better. Right?
Sure. It's more than hard work. Okay. Yeah.
Reflection.
Yep.
We also talked about identifying inefficiencies, stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't think it's just hard work.
I mean, it's a bit of a shortcut, right? Yeah. And you're saying there's much more to it than hard work. All of the things you said, like reflection, analysis, all those things still come in under it. That's when there's no shortcut to getting the result, right? You've got to go through the motions. And if you've done it more and more times, I have 0 minutes left, becomes easier. And then you just go for it. Absolutely do it. Why would you not? There's a lot of hesitation of actually doing the thing. I have that with writing that damn book, by the way. Like, oh, I'll just think about it a bit more. I do that all the time. And I shouldn't. I should just write it and then edit, right? And do, right? What can you do today? I want to take one thing away. Can you write that blog article? Can you help that person do the thing you've been saying you would do for 3 months? Can you actually write down a goal? Whatever it is, can you do one thing? Because that's how it works. You do one thing and you do another thing. Hey, and before you know it, you keep doing things, right? There's, again, the Netflix syndrome, right? We're so good at not doing the thing. And I think that's the main difference between people that do seem to have a lot of output or whatever they're doing, and people that don't. It's like they're better at doing the thing. It's not that they're cleverer. It's not that they're more intelligent necessarily. It's not that they have a better idea. It's just that they do the thing more often, right? I have a very good friend who is exceptionally at doing the thing, and it's really annoying to look at. So I'm going to lead you with that right now. Just change one thing. Please do it. And I'm going to choose. I'm going to say, gentleman with a shirt, yes, if you want my book. Definitely. That's the book, by the way. And then for the rest of you, if you want to scan that and you get, I don't know, some offer on Manning, I don't know. They gave me this to give away. And, oh, hang on. Is anyone doing it? No one cares. Good. That's a few. It's amazing how QR codes have come back, isn't it? And this is, obviously, I've got to do a plug. I work for Pluralsight. If you want 30 days access with everything, all the bells and whistles to the training platform. It's like 7,000 courses or something on everything technology. There's another QR code. Or if you don't want to scan it, just let me know and I'll send it to you. That's fine too. But other than that, I thank you for your time and a bit extra. And if you have more questions, please come up. Just find me, ask. I'm happy to answer. And I'm doing a talk tomorrow. That's not this. So have stickers. Thank you.